and expected that the substantial reduction of disaster risk and losses in lives, livelihood, and health. About all these dimensions, what we have already. This is, I think, why I have spent time about this, all this framework and basics, because these are the perspectives. You can get the factual information everywhere. Is available on internet. And what are the disaster? What are the types of disaster? Earthquake होता है तो क्यों होता है? क्या होता है? What's its impact? What is loss? How it happened? Whole story about it, everything, and it is going for the specific. But here we are talking about the looking to the things, not in isolation, but how in the holistic way, integrated way. If any stakeholders aware about with this context, I think if something is going to be happen, so whatever, see the example of COVID-19 is gave a best lesson to us. Despite whole kind of things, some of the people, many people, hundreds of people, they lost their life only because of lack of industrial oxygen. Because कभी हमने सोचा ही नहीं कि ये कोई चीज ऐसी हो सकती है. Nobody was thinking about it. Now everybody is understanding what will be situation. Even why we are facing so many problems in the urban areas. Urban ecosystem, environmental system is become so fragile. Whenever there is heavy rainfall, everything is get flooded. If there is something disaster happen, so this is the most vulnerable part and having the highest risk, because a lot of money is involved in the urban areas, a lot of development, a lot of investment is in the urban. So it's the highest risk region become all of them. And the way we go for the planning, the way we go, we hardly think about it, because we have seen in Pune number of example about the mismanagement, because we never consider the disaster risk reduction as a component of the development. If you are going for any kind of public utility or construction time, you should first have the consideration of a disaster risk reduction. This is what the purpose of. So we are looking at this, and these are the things given here. What is the how to reduce the mortality, how to reduce the affected people, how to reduce the economic loss, how to take care of these critical infrastructure and disruption of basic services, then increase number of the cooperation of number of countries, and availability and access to the multi-hazard early warning system. Nowadays, I'm going to share one study about it. Nowadays, the loss of economic loss may not be reduced, but loss of lives is completely uh, significantly reduced. Mainly because we have no warning system, we have at least some awareness about it. And mainly this is happening in the people affected by the cyclone. Because now everything you can through the satellite, the way the day the low pressure belt started developing in the ocean, any part of the ocean, immediately we get the information through the satellite data, and continuous monitoring then start. And everything now we can calculate with the help of this technological development. So obviously it saved the day. And there are the community resilient in most of the places. People have worked on that, and that's the reason that. Anyway, we'll come to the point. Now, coming to the here, so priority of action is understanding the disaster risk. This is important. Means what? We have to understand the vulnerability, capacity, exposure of person, asset, hazard characteristics, and then everything we have to understand. And then we have to go for the development. Then risk governance to manage the disaster risk. This is one more action. Investing in the disaster risk reduction for resilience. If you are going for what we are talking about the development, so investing in first in disaster risk reduction for resilience. And fourth most important, now build back better. It is not rehabilitation or reconstruction, just build back better. Integrating all the measures by taking care of all the section of society. You should build back, but in such a better way, so there will be a more resilience communities or more resilient situation to the disaster. Now there is a okay. Now people are working on that. Now this is self-assessment is given to the everyone, all the countries, and some of the countries they did their own self-assessment. They gave the 5 scale 1 to 5. 5 is the best, 1 is the lowest, and they take the some parameter of this risk reduction progress over the period. This is 2011 data, and this information is given by each country. Now look at here, the Switzerland is the best, then Brazil, then Japan, and rest of the country. India also stand having the score of 3.25 out of 5. And this is our self-assessment we have done. And some of the African countries also there, like Senegal is just 2.75, Mongolia is 2.75. These are the African countries they are having the. So this is the way now some of the steps people are taking here. When we are talking about the some of the precautions, some of the risk reduction. So this is the sea wall is protect against the storm surge worsened by the sea level rise. So this is in the Scandinavian part of the Scandinavian country. Such kind of skill was because that is the area is going to be first face the problem of the there will be a temperature sea level rise and they such kind of the measures they are started taking. This is what example of the community resilience. Now what these people have, they know that flood is going to be affect our area. They have the houses. Okay, so design houses in such a way that during the flood these huts or their houses not get affected, and everyone is having the small boat, so their movement is also continued to sustain their livelihood and whatever. So this is the way, this is what we call as adaptation. Sometimes you have to adopt, you cannot control, you cannot change, so adopt in such a way there will be a minimum loss of life and property. So such kind of things also people are thinking, because once you not prevent it, at least you adopt it. So going to the theoretical here, there are the hazards, there are the disasters. Then we have to go for the mitigation of hazards. Simultaneously, we have to go for the adaptation, and then only we'll get the resilience, ability to prepare, plan, and absorb the recover from more successfully adapt to the adverse event. And this is what the whole perspective is going from the hazard to the management to the adaptation to the complete resilience. So this is the way we are looking at. Now coming to the some of the examples. Now this is the reference is given for the 1975, and at that time it was mentioned that per year more than $50,000 million US dollar cost of the economic global vacuum to the disaster, and mitigation costs have been relatively stable for the drought, tsunamis, volcanic frost. So this is what the data is talking about. There is a loss, and again for the mitigation there is a cost. So that concern is given in 1975. Now coming to the some of the examples. So World Risk Index, this is the index is given. Now we are looking the things spatially also. Now here you can see the Bangladesh, a small red patch is there, right? And that is what the Bangladesh consider the country having the highest risk. You can see the countries from moderate, medium, that is yellow, the red is the very high, and orange shade is high, and greenish shades are the having the low risk. All the developed countries or most of the developed countries are low risk index, and this is what the spatial dimension. And if you look at the countries of the Asia, mainly the South Asia and Southeast Asia, even look at the Japan. It is countries belongs to the highly developed, but world risk index is quite high for it, mainly because of it is very close to the Mariana Trench, that is the fault line where the tectonic activities are very prevalent. So this is the way I think such kind of thing, world level, people are creating from the world going world to the global. How they are going, we will see. Now this is the another map estimation level, exposure to the different countries to natural hazards. Now it's very interesting. These 2-3 maps are here. So all red color is showing the high level of exposure to the disaster. All considering the all disaster. Now India is also become part of it. Even America is also there. Australia is there. Russia there. But look at the Europe. Only Italy and some of the countries and Turkey are comes under the. But most of the part of the Europe is the moderate to the low level of exposure. But coming to this figure, this is the social approach to the vulnerability. Who will be the more sufferer? Which countries by socially will be covered? So complete part of the South Asia, Southeast Asia, major part of the Africa, and some part of the Central America, and South America. So these are the countries are high level to the very high level risk, yellow and reddish color. So this is how who will be sufferer, more vulnerable. Why the risk is here showing like this? Because it is a cost. But there is a more economic cost is there involved in the developed countries. That's why they come to here. But here, socially, if you community resilient, they have the better community. And these are the countries having the least community, so they are more vulnerable. Now, coming to the economic point of view, now you are getting the interesting figure. All developed countries are the high level of high risk. For social here, they are not vulnerable, but in economic point of view, they are vulnerable. Look at the America, Russia, then Japan, then Australia, New Zealand, and most of the European countries. So this is how the reality of the world we have to be understand when we deal with the disaster risk reduction. When the things comes to the economic, obviously the economic loss will be there more. But there are other aspects also. We are talking in absolute terms. We have the more rebound capacity also. That is another dimension. Now coming to the why is become the serious kind of thing. Why everyone is thinking about when you want to achieve the sustainable development, you should think about the cost. Now look at here. The rising cost of the natural. Over the period, the billions of dollars are increasing. And if you look at the average trend, a line showing, there is a continuous rise in the cost of these losses due to the disaster. Despite all these efforts, you can see this is the average graph showing the disaster of the global losses. So every year, if you look at here, more than $100 billion, there is a loss. We have seen in 1975, it was talking about the $50 billion. But now look at the figure here. It ranges between 100 to $200 billion. This is the way average loss we are. There are some incidents, so there are the peaks and lows, but this is what the average figure talk about. So natural disaster on the rise around the globe. If you look at the data from 1980 to 2019, so there are about 820 natural disasters from this period. And here also more is the hydrological, then climatological and meteorological and geophysical. So more related to the directly, indirectly related to the climate. And their intensity, their magnitude is over the period is increasing. So this is what they are talking, that climate change is another factor that causes more natural disaster to occur. And this is what the data is provided by these agencies about it. And they are more talking about the cost of the natural disaster since 1980, the $5 trillion. And the interesting part, only a quarter of which was insured. And if you go again the social spatial perspective, who are these 1/4? Obviously, this most of it belongs to the developed countries. So rest of the thing is there is example given earthquake and tsunami in 2011. So lost is about $210 billion one event. Hurricane Katrina $61 billion one event. So this is the way I think the severity of this problem is increasing. And counting only insured losses, 70% of damage are caused by the weather event globally. Now this is what the problem. See, insurance sector, this is not that much developed in our part, but in most of the power part, people are aware about that. And they count that what is the cause of the insurance they are claiming. And they found that disaster have the number of different kind of disaster occurring, and that is what the reason. And that most of the events are the 70% are related to the global weathering. I think this is the fact. Look at the disparity here. So black line is insurance losses and total economic loss. Look at the figure. Despite a high rise and kind, still there is a huge gap about people are insured. This is what the least resilient communities. So everyone should be insured, and there should be some very minimum cost-effective insurance is one of the part of the resilient is need to be taken care if you look at the such kind of the data. Now over the period, the homeless from the natural disaster, this is the data given from the 1900 to 2000. So this intensity is increasing. Many people are becoming the homeless mainly because of they are coming in urban areas and they are staying in the more vulnerable cases. And when disaster occur, so such kind of events occur. Similar thing about the death of the due to the earthquake, there are some peaks, but it is some of the there also still not significant. At least we have achieved despite so much efforts, still the problem persists. This is what the graph is showing. Okay, this is regarding the one figure is showing, but I don't want to put it that how the loss to the each and every sector. This is the figure because of the tourism. Now there is a loss of minus 72% loss in the economic front. Okay, this is what the loss of the tourism sector only. If you take the sector wise during the COVID-19 period, so this is the loss happened in 1 year. The loss of millions of rupees, crores of rupees. This is how the things are happening because of that. Now coming to the Indian context. India, just look at the map. We are talking about whole thing about the world. Now coming to the Indian front, this is the thing. Look at this reddish color, that is the earthquake zone. The bluish lines are the cyclone prone zone. Then there is the flood prone area, sky blue kind of thing. Then sea level, there is a navy blue is the sea level rise. and drought prone area. And the area which you can see, it is also part of the Rajasthan. You know that is the complete desert. And the central part, which is also the drought prone area, or it is nowadays facing the problem of heat waves. So looking to the whole country, there is a disaster situation, hazardous situation. So 36 states of the country, out of 27, they are the disaster prone. 58.6% of the land mass is earthquake prone. Then 27% of the land about the flood, 8% land for the cyclone, and 68% is vulnerable to drought. म्हणजे लक्षात घ्या तुम्ही, about 70% of the area of the agriculture is drought prone. Look at the situation. Now here you can see the India's climatic disaster risk map. Almost complete India is covered out of that. Maybe for the cyclone, maybe for the flood, maybe for the cold waves, maybe for the hot waves. All these things are here. And the rest of the part which is not comes under, it is covered by the earthquake zone, which is the part, if you look at here, Northeast India, complete earthquake prone zone, and northern part also. So that's why this is the scenario about the India. And when we are talking about the development, so this is the serious issue. So India reported 321 catastrophic events between 2000 to 2019. Loss of life is 79.730,